I'm so sorry if this breaks eardrums. Okay, I did have another video playing in the background. By accident. Sorry, because I was trying to check. It's great. Okay, awesome. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the troubleshooting, everyone, and the patience. Oh my God. I always have a lot of trouble with this because I have a video capture card linked in the middle just so it doesn't bog down the stream whenever I cook a simulation or do something heavy on Houdini. So it's quite complex. Awesome. Loud and clear. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Snappy Dev, Nathan Joseph, Flaming Burrito, Tom Kushwa, John Payne. Let me see. Jonathan Montorio. I hope I got that name right. I think I got everyone. Oh, 3D with SB. Awesome. Okay. Everyone's excited about Apex. I am too. I mean, the first time I saw Apex at the keynotes, H20 keynotes online, it seemed a little overwhelming, but after I played around with this chicken rig, there goes my fans. There goes my computer fans. After I played around with the chicken rig, I fell in love with Apex. I was like, I want to create stuff like this. So this chicken rig is made using Apex, but not by me, by SideFX. The Gorilla is a custom character rig completely from scratch. Well, I started off with a base mesh and then I sculpted it in ZBrush. It took a few tries. I actually have kept a log of my progression, so it's quite. I thought it was kind of neat to see how I improved over time in ZBrush, or it's not to see my progression. And then I rigged it in KineFX and then posted in Apex. I really wanted to do more with Apex, like animate it, but learning the basics of Apex and the auto rig component, that's quite a beast. That's quite a beast. It's a lot of math, I won't lie, but once you get the hang of it, it is amazing. The possibilities are unlimited. And from the title, I think Houdini actually stands a chance against Maya. So, all this talk about Apex. What exactly is Apex? That's what I was a little confused about at the beginning. So I'll start off with what is Apex and a little bit of intro, and then I'll get to the comparison between Maya and Houdini's character animation, which is a combination of KineFX and Apex. So Apex builds on top of KineFX. So what is Apex? Apex is, let me just grab some simpler examples. This is the heart and sort of the meat of Apex, the auto rig component. That's where most of the magic happens. That's the most powerful feature in Apex, is automatically creating control rigs. In Unreal Engine, they call it control rigs. You may know it as proxy controls, or what I used to call it, because I didn't know they were called proxy controls. I used to call it intelligent rigs. And back in the day when I did the early videos of KineFX, I did try to replicate what Apex does today, creating proxy controls using KineFX. So that's like way back in the day. That was before Apex. So Apex automates the creation process of proxy controls or rig controls. So KineFX is already very powerful. It's already like KineFX automates the skeleton create. Well, it doesn't. You can automate it. So I have done that with a lot of different projects that I've done over the years. That's in another file. Okay, I have that car generator. Actually, let me pull it up. So it is possible to automate the skeleton creation and skinning process. Apex using KineFX, and then Apex on top of that will automate the creation of the proxy controls. So this all works together perfectly. So you'll never have to leave Houdini for character animation, at least, or anything. Actually, it's like they're dominating the world. They're taking over almost every aspect of 3D animation now, which is amazing. So what I like to think of it, Apex takes character animation and sprinkles it with some Houdini procedural goodness. So it takes it to a whole new level. Apex uses this guy. If you remember from KineFX days, where we have this rig vop. What was it called? Rig attribute vop. It uses a lot of elements from this guy, where you have your set point transform, your get point transform, get parent. It uses a lot of elements from this guy, and it automates this part, which is necessary for you to create your proxy controls. So here is a very simple example. Bone deform. So here the proxy controls are the rubber toys. Click this. Now this is the very first example I did, so it is a little buggy still. Okay, that double is not supposed to happen. Let me... Okay, open a new viewport just to refresh the screen. Where is that? Okay. Oh, it's still seeing the double. Okay, there we go. So this is hooked up to this guy, to this tube. The proxy controls are the rubber toys. So this is the root. This is a very simple example. Let's go. Now that is just to test it. There's actually a bone deform. There's many types of auto rig components. So this, let me get my little handy. So up here in the component list, you can choose what type of auto rig component that you're trying to create. So here I chose bone deform just because I want to test it out. This will allow you to sort of apply your manipulation of your proxy controls, like, and see them run in real time and how it affects this rig. So it allows you to test it basically. But the changes don't apply. Like, I don't think you can keyframe this. Where you actually do the animation is not in there, is in here, in the scene animate, which has way more tools. So this has the squash applied, but it is a little buggy. So this is one of the things that you can do in Apex to create complex proxy controls that will manipulate your character in different ways. And this one, some of you might recognize this from the tutorial, from the Apex tutorial by I think it was Warren. Let me just look up his name. William Harley from the SideFX website. So he has this amazing Apex rigging. I practically watched it like 20 times just to understand what he was doing. but I was trying to recreate that squash control. Mine's a little different. I did it in a different way just to test it out. And to give you an idea of what I modified behind the scenes. Oh, let me make this bigger. So this is what is created behind, or what is modified behind the scenes. This doesn't even show the power of Apex yet. This is actually directly modifying the graph. Apex procedurally generates the graph. This here is directly opening the graph and modifying it right on the spot. So this is more of the rig VOP that we're used to in KineFX, that this guy. It's practically this guy. Apex will look something like, okay, that's the bone control. This is the second one. It'll look more like this. Apex, this is more like Apex. Which is, it looks almost the same, right? If from looking at a very high level overview. But if you look at the nodes, they're actually very different. We have a for loop over here. I'm going to see if I have my... Okay, my little arrow program isn't really working. Okay, and then you have the for loop, the find nodes, replace. Like, they're not... we're not using this anymore. We're not using the transform object. We're not directly getting a point and transforming it, because that would not be using Apex to its full potential. This you can just use the rig wrangle or use Apex to directly edit the graph. Apex's magic happens when you procedurally generate the graph, which is what this will do. Like this part. The top part is nice. I have it here just so I could sort of conceptualize in my mind what I'm trying to do, because it will get into the little details when you're trying to for loop everything, and then you're trying to find all the nodes that you want to modify. So I go like, okay, I want to find all the nodes that has this name in it, this control that has this. I named all my controls with the suffix control. So that's what it's trying to find. And then it'll go over all of them. And then it goes like, okay, find all the controls with the same control name without the actual suffix control. Then we have the bone. That's just the bone name. Because I took all the bone names and just put a suffix on top, on the end that is underscore control, which will look like, let me show you just so you can have a visual picture. So the controls are here. Let me turn on the name. Okay, let me turn this on. Okay. It is a little small. I hope you can see it. It says here 0.0 underscore control. 0.1 underscore control. 0.2 underscore control. Now, the original skeleton is exactly the same. Let me actually make this a little larger. Okay, the skeleton is this, which is identical, except these names, if you can actually see them. I know they're super tiny. I actually don't know how to make the text bigger. It says 0.0. Oh, let me do this. I'm not very fancy, so notepad. So the bones are named 0.0, 0.1. You get the idea. 0.2. The controls for the respective controls for those joints just have underscore control. To control. So those are the respective controls. So it's a very simple wrangle. This I can make bigger. That prefixes it. And this hierarchy, so this creates a hierarchy for the rig controls. Don't get confused with the skeleton. The skeleton is binded to the actual geometry. This is the rig controls, which is what I was trying to do back in the day with KineFX, like being in the older videos. This is a lot more fast and way more easy to create using Apex. You feed this all in and you have to pack it into a folder, name it correctly. So shape and then skeleton on the bottom. Now the rigging part, the actual bone capture weight, or what other softwares call it weight painting. In Houdini, we do it procedurally. We don't paint anything. Well, you can't paint it, but I prefer to do it procedurally. So I had used a joint capture proxy for this particular example because it's very simple. There's only 3 joints binded to a tube. And all that information, the skeleton, the mesh, and the rig control hierarchy all have to be packed in nice and neat and with a bow tie. That's what the pack folder does. And you send it off to an auto rig component where you can actually manipulate, not manipulate, sorry. You can create rig controls for it. First, you always have to promote it. Now, what does this do? I was very confused at the beginning with promoting this. It's actually, so if you go to drop down on auto rig component, go to here, go to FK transform up here. It's really initializing all the controls as FKs. Your controls. The bone is already binded. It's already skinned. The skinning happens in KineFX. So the skinning is happening up here. This part. Let me actually put a box around it. Okay, there we go. That the red box is where the skinning happens. This is the rig controls. This is not used. This is the rig controls. I will give it a color purple since the auto rig components are all purple. Okay. So this initializes the FK, which is, from all of what I've seen, it's a necessary step. You have to initialize your controls as FKs. And this also promotes it so that you can actually see it here when you go out and test it. When you actually try to manipulate it in the viewport, you'll get this nice set. And I'll get into that in just a bit. And this initializes it here. Now, if you don't initialize it, okay, let me make a copy of this so I don't break the whole chain. Okay. Now, if you don't initialize it, you won't see it. You can see that it's gone. There's 0 controls. So that's a necessary step. Oh, I can't undo. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay, never mind. I don't need this guy. It's over here. So that's where you can do this. Now this comes in handy for this particular model. This set, this dialogue here is not very useful because there's only 3 joints here. But once you get into like character rigging, you'll have like 10 joints or stuff like that. It gets a little complicated. This set will be a lifesaver because you can create custom sets, and you can create a set like arms set or legs set, and then all you had to do is just click on the set and it'll automatically select all your arms, all your legs, or whatever set that you create, and you can customize that, and it's like a lifesaver. Let's see. Well, let's see. This does the configuration. This makes it so that you can actually click on these. Oop, let me turn off the... So I can actually click on these. You can see that it's not really binded to this whole thing. It's not... Well, we don't even see the mesh yet in this step. So the actual fun part happens way below down here. The squash, that squash effect is this over here. Let me give it a yellow color. That's happening here. So there's a lot of stuff in between. This is mostly so that you can click on these guys. Now let me go back one more step. This is initializing the FK or promoting the controls. Let me go back a step. And I'm going to come here. I'm clicking this. It's not selecting it. Well, it is selecting, but this is selecting the actual, like the dot. It's not selecting this this geometry. It's not selecting the rubber toy, because one of the benefits of creating proxy controls or controls is that you have a larger object that represents your control, so it's easier to read, and it's also easier to select because it's a lot larger. If you have to find that little dot, you have to find this little dot to get it. It like this rig is simple, yes, it's still easy to select, but if you get something like a little bit more complicated with even just a human rig or anything, it gets a little harder to click. So that's the purpose of this configure controls in the next step, in the second step. And one thing to be aware of that drove me nuts was that I kept on using the wrong attach geometry node. Apparently there's 2 of them, and it kept on crashing on me. So I didn't understand why. And then with a good night's sleep and then another round of Apex, I finally found why it was. I kept on using this attach capture geo, which will not work. You have to use the attach joint geo, just so that, FYI, just so that everyone knows. Otherwise, if you're wondering, okay, if you throw down this auto rig component, if you're following William Harley's tutorial on SideFX, and you're trying to figure out why can't I select this, and just double check this. Just double check this node. That when you create your shape controls, just double check that part. If you can select it here in this attach joint, if you can select it here, like you won't be, I don't think you can manipulate it. Yeah. If you can select it here, it should be fine on the other side. Once you get down into the chain. So that's just a quick tip. I'm just going to check the comments for a second. ZBrush has a really weird interface. Yes, it is. It takes some getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's like muscle memory. I haven't forgotten where the move brush is, like the BMV, like all that is muscle memory. It's designed so that your left hand can reach all the keys, and your right hand is for the tablet. So I actually don't know how it works for left-handers though, because then all the shortcuts may be a little inconvenient. But a lot of people nowadays don't use the keyboard. They set up all the shortcuts on the tablet. I'm so stuck on the keyboard with ZBrush. I haven't done much outside of Houdini in a while. Yes. Once you get into Houdini, I find that the same thing with me. So Flame Burrito says he hasn't done much outside of Houdini. And that everything is so, once you get into Houdini, I feel like every little thing I try to do in Houdini, maybe it's because I'm so used to it. And I'm so like biased on it though. Even modeling, I find, is a lot more convenient to do in Houdini. But a lot of other 3D applications, even Blender has a little bit more better modeling features. But Houdini is procedural and non-destructive. That is something that no other program can replace. Like, so I can create HDH generators and everything. It's so like, it's hard to create the first time, but then you can create an army in the next step. That's creating those assets are like super convenient in the long run. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Heron. I'm so sorry. I think I'm mispronouncing your name. Okay. I was always thought I was really fun making controls in rigging. It is fun. It is fun making controls. Once it gets working, you'll have a blast just playing around with it. Like after I got this thing working, yes, it took a while to understand. But once it is working, it's really fun to play around with. Like, this is something super simple. Imagine the possibilities. Like, this is using the translation of one control and using that to control the width of this tube in the middle. Imagine that if we use the translation of a control and we control, I don't know, the expansion, the bulging or explosion of different pieces of props on a character animation. I don't know, a character that is wearing a lot of balloons. He might be pulling a string and then everything expands out. I don't know. I just came up with that. John Payne, I'm pretty moved all my modeling to Houdini out. Yes. That's the right attitude. I try to create as much, every single time I'm modeling in Houdini, I try to model it in a way that I can reuse it again in the future. I find that it's more time efficient in the long run, of course. But if you have a deadline that's like, I don't know, something that is due next day, you might not have that luxury, but you can always go back to it and then proceduralize it or make it an HDA later on and tidy it up. So it pays out in the long run. The only downside, I think, of Houdini is that it's missing a lot of brushes. I just wish that Houdini would add in, like, there is a vellum brush. So they do have brushes. It's just, in comparison to ZBrush, it's, you know, it's even in compared to Blender's brushes, it's quite missing quite a bit. I mean, imagine the possibilities. This vellum brush is amazing. Oh, I think I just crashed this. No. Wow, it's brushes. Okay, my Houdini is hanging. I feel like a crash is imminent. Okay, I'll come back to that. Let's see if it recovers. Oh, it recovered. Okay, good. So this vellum brush is amazing. Vellum cloth. Oh. Ooh. Okay. Oh wow, that lags. I think I have too much stuff open. Let me turn off the points. Okay, I would subdivide this, but I fear for that it might crash it. So this is like a vellum brush. It will move your mouse, your brush strokes, and affect the geometry like it was a cloth, because I threw down a vellum cloth. So I wish Houdini had more of these brushes. That would really make everything really fun. It would make modeling a lot more fun in Houdini. Flaming Bernie, I forget. Do you use Maya often? No, I do not. But I'm gonna compare. Actually, nice that you brought it up. I should start comparing. I did a bit of research and I'm gonna compare some of the pros and cons of using Maya for character animation and Houdini for character animation. Well, we all know, okay, now that you have a little short overview of what Apex is, you might have a better idea of what it can do now. So let's get into that. Just gonna get a bit of water, just okay. Well, Maya has scripting. Maya uses Python scripting it has scripting capabilities, so you can still do that whole procedural rig controls with Maya. And it uses Python, so that's a very nice feature of Maya. And of course, Houdini Apex, we have the auto rig components, which is what I showed you just now. That is node-based, so you don't have to actually script anything. So that's a huge plus, in my opinion. It could be, I mean, it could go either way, because sometimes when you're using, like, when you're doing for loops in the node graph, it gets a little awkward. That I prefer doing coding, like text, like typing it out with for loops. But having a node-based scripting system for Apex for creating your rig controls, it makes it a lot easier, especially if you're like 3 a.m. and you're really, really tired and you just got to get something working. It makes it a lot easier because you don't have to worry about syntax. You don't have to worry about, what was that, the exact name of that function. Oh, I misspelled this, typos and spaces or syntax. Like that can get very tedious. Maya has skinning and voxel mapping. I mean, Houdini uses voxel mapping too. I believe they use it underneath. You don't have to worry about it because Houdini uses this. Let me just get my rig controls. I'm just gonna open up another example file. Okay, so Houdini has rig control. Houdini does the skinning procedurally, and it hides the voxel mapping from you, which is awesome because I don't want to know about it. Using their bone capture tools, let's see. Let's use let's use a banana. I was working on this King Kong scene. It was supposed to be a Godzilla versus King Kong, but then I didn't have a Godzilla, and then I found this chicken rig. I was like, okay, let's try and create a Chickenzilla. It's still in the works. There's so much to do. Like this needs a lot of love. What? But I had these bananas I needed to do for that. These are all rigs, which I'll show you in a different file. If I can get it to come up. Okay. So let's take a look at this guy. So John Payne says, I still use Maya for retopology and ZBrush for bump and displacement. Awesome. I do the same thing, sort of the same thing. I use ZBrush's Z remesher for retopology. Just because I'm lazy, a one button retopologizing solution is hard to beat. Maya gets, I think, once upon a time, I almost used Maya, like when I was trying to decide what software to focus on. I almost pivoted towards Maya, but then I think they increased their subscription price and I couldn't. I was like, oh, I can't afford that. And then Houdini it was. And I've been with Houdini ever since. And I've never regretted anything. Houdini is awesome. Let me go down. Sorry. So this is my banana rig. Let me clear all this. Just to show you what it does. Oh, whoops. There you go. It's just peeling the banana. So this is a very quick rig control that I tried to come up with for this scene. In the original Godzilla versus King Kong, like the 2021 movie, I think it's 2021, the first one, not the 91 Godzilla one, the first Godzilla versus King Kong one. They had this scene in the trailer where they were duking it out in the middle of the sea, and there's like a lot of guns on the bottom on the floor, but I'm not into guns, so I've replaced them all with bananas. No, I have no idea how I came up with that. I needed something to replace the violence, so I mean, it's a chicken versus a gorilla. How much more sillier can I get? But what I was really wanted to show you, sorry, was the bone capture. This. So in Houdini, it's called bone capture weights. So in here, you'll see these attributes, these bone capture attributes, which are weight painting in weights. In other software, they're just called weight painting. In here, I didn't weight paint anything in here. So that's the beauty of Houdini. There, I used this capture proximity node, and there's a lot of different nodes that you can use. There is the joint capture by harmonic. So this one you can use for bipeds. It works great for human rigs. You can paint. So there's this joint capture paint, so you can paint. And there is the joint capture proximity, which does almost the same thing as this one does. This capture proximity one, but this joint capture proximity, this one does it all at once. So you feed in the entire skeleton and then the entire mesh into it. So let me just show you here. Here you can see that I have a for loop, and it's actually looping through each banana peel. Let me step through the for loop. So in the comments, Amab. Hope I got your name right. Welcome. Chicken versus Godzilla. Yeah, Chickenzilla. The flaming burrito. The bananas are fighting back. Hopefully I can make it even more goofier by, I don't know, maybe turning the banana meat or the actual banana meat of it and splashing it on it, maybe turning it into, I don't know, fluid. That'd be pretty neat, but I might not have enough RAM to do all that, to render it all in one scene, but we'll see. Okay, so this is the for loop. I'm gonna step through this. Let me put it on here. So it's stepping through each banana peel. Huh? What happened? Okay. So there's only 4 peels. So thank you to Flaming Burrito. Less peels on the banana made it look like more banana-like. I had like 8 peels before this, and it looked like a squid. So it's stepping through each one. I'm actually binding each peel one at a time so I can have a higher accuracy of the skinning process. So this is, the for loop is going through each peel of the banana mesh, and also I feed in the skeleton. Here's the skeleton in an object merge, which I'm bringing from the top over here. Let me turn on the points. So these are all joints. I can actually visualize them, so you can see the joints. And I'm taking this banana skeleton because I'm binding each peel at a time. I have to isolate, I have to find the peel of this skeleton hierarchy for this peel and isolate it, and then send it off to this bone capture proximity. So there is a bit of wrangle here, but all it's doing is saying, okay, this is the peel number. It's iteration. This is the counting number of the for loop. Okay, grab that. And I've numbered all the skeleton chains. So in here, there's 4 banana peels. So there's 4 skeleton chains. There's one for each peel. I've numbered them the same way as I numbered the banana peels, like each peel. And then that way I can use the iteration number, which is the counting number of the for loop, to drive the whole binding process. Okay, get me the first, the for loop is counting, it's 0 base. So the first number would be 0. Okay, get me the 0 number of the banana peel and the skeleton. And then that will isolate it on both sides. Well, this, for the for loop, it automatically does it for the banana mesh. Then this capture proximity just binds it to the geometry, which produces these bone capture weights. And that's all you really need. You need to take the skeleton, and then you have to create these bone capture weights, but the bone capture weights only, they only exist on the geometry mesh. So if you understand that concept, it's very powerful, because now you know that you don't have to have, if you look carefully, this skeleton is not complete. I don't have my root node. The root node is actually added afterwards, after the skinning, because I don't need to skin the root node. So this is the actual completed version there, which just has this tip right here. I'm just going to make these a little larger. So it has this tip here, and this is just the root node that will manipulate. It'll just let me easily position the entire banana without, because all I had to do was select the root node and just move it around. So after you understand that concept that you don't need the skeleton after you skin it, you can actually take the skeleton and modify it further. And it'll still work. As long as the bone capture weights are captured and stuck onto the mesh itself. The data is in there. Now, having said that, your skeleton needs to have names, because that's what it used to link it together. Otherwise, if you start changing, now you can change the skeleton, but don't change the names. If you change the names, it won't recognize it. So it does rely on that to as the pairing process. Sorry, that was a very long sidetrack from comparing Maya's skinnings to Houdini's KineFX. So I am more proficient in Houdini. There will be this will be more focused on Houdini, but Maya does have this one-click solution for creating human rigs. So in Houdini, which is not bad, Houdini has this. We have this skeleton. We drop it in. And you can create your skeleton process, which is not bad. Like, it's a couple clicks. But Maya does have a one-click solution. So you literally just click it and poof, you get a human rig. But it is very focused only on human-like rigs. With this process, you can create any type of rig. And if you're obsessed with me, like, you can create generators. So this banana generator, you can actually modify the initial shape of the banana. So this is a curve. This is a NURBS curve, a Bezier curve, sorry. Bezier curve. Actually, let me template the end result. And let's get rid of this. That was just for demo. Okay, let me put it here, I think. Okay. Can see that the banana is updating in real time because I templated. I have it templated. Okay, let's go back down and let's see how it affects the rig. I hope it doesn't break. You never know. Everything breaks during a live stream. Okay. Oh, it looks like it's still working. Okay, that's good. Let me turn it off. So you can see that once you get your procedural assets all set up, it is very cool to play around with. So now I can have a sea of bananas with all different variety too. So Houdini is not a one-click solution for generating rigs, but this is not bad at all. The skeleton node is not bad at all. And Houdini also has so let's say I'm just gonna do something. Bone orient. So you can orient. Let me visualize the rig. Visualize rig. Okay. You can orient the rigs procedurally if you wish. So this comes really in handy for depending on how you want to manipulate your skeleton, how you want your skeleton to be set up. I use this orient joints a lot, trying to retarget rigs to mocap in Houdini, which is still something I'm working on. It's really, really hard to get it really accurate. I have a lot of trouble with the fingers. And Maya has a lot of plugins. But in Houdini, we have HDAs, as I keep talking about in this in this session. We have HDAs that we can create in Houdini and tailor to our exact needs rather than relying on external plugins, which actually might be a good thing too. If you're on a time crunch, you can just buy a plugin and then install it and then use it right away. In Houdini, we can create our own plugins, our own HDAs, our own assets. That is, again, that pays off in the long run. And Maya does have a non-destructive workflow. It's just that there are stages that where you will need to commit your geometry and you won't be able to roll back to certain stages. So because Maya is a box modeling type of software, it's not like Houdini. Nothing is like Houdini. Houdini is very special. It's very procedural. You can go back to almost any step, which I find is very helpful, especially if you don't have a large amount of time. Like if you don't have 6 hours a day to really learn Houdini, you can actually, even if you have 5 minutes a day, you will never lose any work. There's very minimum loss of work because you can begin in the exact stage where you left off. Or if you made a mistake in an earlier step, you can always go back to that node, like just go upstream in the chain and just change it. I mean, you might have to fiddle around with the nodes down the chain, but you don't lose any work. And this was a huge thing for me because I might not always get to sit down for 2 hours or anything. Sometimes, some days I would get like 5 minutes and I want to just, I don't know. Okay, 5 minutes might push it, but let's say 30 minutes. If you have 30 minutes a day, you can really, Houdini is really good for that type of thing because you can begin wherever you left off. And UV wrapping. Now, this is something that Maya probably excels a lot better in. A lot of people use external UV tools instead of using Houdini's UV tools. Houdini has very limited UV tools. I do have experimented with trying to create procedural UVs, but it's not easy. It's very, very difficult. Flaming Burrito. Can rigs ever be transferred other 3D apps for animation? Yeah, it can, but you won't. I find it, I'm still trying to figure out how to transfer the Apex proxy controls to other 3D applications. I don't know if it's even possible, at least not yet. I have transferred a lot of my custom rigs, like the generators, like the stuff that I've actually one of them, oops, there is this weird plant thing I was creating a while back. Okay, I can't find it. Well, there's this weird plant thing that I created, a plant rig that I created in Houdini, and I brought it over into Unreal Engine. So it does work. They actually even include, when you throw down FBX ROP, so when you're exporting your rigs, KineFX rigs, because I don't know how to export Apex rigs, this is the one to use, the FBX character output, not the ROP FBX. This is static mesh, what Unreal Engine calls static mesh. So it's just geometry. This one is the one you want. This will export your character rig with the skeleton and everything. So you can see that it has its usual 3 inputs, which matches the bone deform, the character import, It matches the whole, all the KineFX nodes. I'm just trying to find a picture of that weird plant thing that I did. Okay, never mind. I can't find it. But yeah, you can. It is possible. And in this FBX character ROP, SideFX even included export presets. In here, they have an Unreal Engine preset, which never really worked for me. Be aware when you're exporting your character rigs from Houdini that you have to set the skeleton. So the skeleton would be this one. I would usually throw down an attribute wrangle and then set, what is it? Scale inheritance. So you have to be careful of this one. This will it will overwrite the sizing in what comes out in when you import it into Unreal Engine. So I had this huge obstacle back in the day, like we're talking, well, Houdini 17 or something, Houdini 18 maybe. And I was trying to export rigs, and I was trying to get it into Unreal Engine, and they would be so tiny because Houdini units are in meters. Unreal Engine is, I don't know actually. I don't know what unit they're using real in comparison to real life units. But if you overwrite this scale inheritance, usually I make it 0. So I would set this to all the joints. So set it to points and set this to all the joints and then feed it back into the bone. For this is only for the skeleton. If 0 doesn't work, then try 1. I believe there's 4 of them. Let me just quickly search for it. On the SideFX website, they have they define what these are. Here it is. The scale inheritance. So 0 is default value. 1 offset. I find that these two usually work. If 0 doesn't work, usually 1 will work. One of them. And then when you import it into Unreal Engine, revert to default the settings and on the import settings dialog. So when you click and drag, there will be a dialog that pops up in Unreal Engine. Revert to default. And remember to click import animations if you have animations attached to your rig. Since it's a rig, you don't have to. The first parameter on that import dialog in Unreal Engine is for skeleton rig. It's just a skeleton. It's already a skeleton, so I believe you don't have to check that. But yeah, just revert to defaults, and then it should work. So that's just a quick tip. Sorry, that was sidetracked again. Maya's really good at unwrapping, UV unwrapping. Houdini is could use a little bit more love in UVs. We still do have a lot of UV tools, but not enough in my opinion. The one that I use a lot is the UV flatten. And only because that it allows us to define the seams. So you can actually define the edge seams. So say if I were to unwrap this sphere and I wanted the top half and the lower half to have different UVs or do different UV islands. Set this to edges. Select one edge. On your keyboard, hold down A. Alt, if you want to, mess around with the camera angle. Let go of Alt when you're done, and then my finger is still holding onto A. And you can see that it will find the connecting edge loop for you. If I let go of A, this will not happen. So you have to, your finger has to be locked on A. Okay? and I need the other half. So select, hold down select, left click, okay, let go, hold down A, and you can see when you hover the mouse over the geometry, it will start to figure out what to connect and say, okay, I can't reach the other side because the camera angle is wrong. Still have the finger still hold on to A, and then Alt to move the camera, and then once you're done with the camera, release Alt, and still holding on to A, left click. Okay, now you can let go of everything. Oh, sorry, I had let go of Shift. You also have to hold on to Shift so you can connect it all the way through. Let me do that again. So Shift, left click, A, this, A, and then N Shift. So 2, A, N Shift. And I'll keep connecting it. And let me just turn this around. Oh, it is a little fidgety. So select A, N Shift. Okay, there we go. Enter. I'm going to call this seams. Connect this to the UV flatten. Here, let's pull this down. Okay. So you can see it in action when I switch it over. So you can see there's 2 circles now. One for the upper and lower. This here on the bottom will try to align it based on the seams. So if you feed it in here, you can see that they're nicely laid out. You don't have to have this. You can actually, here, let me remove it. You can actually put down a UV layout. And this will do it for you as well. Or a UV transform. And you can manually position this. You can come here and select UV connected. Okay. UV connected. Oh, I guess the middle here is connected, both of them. Okay, let me see. Cut geometry UV layout. Let's see that. Oh, there you go. Okay. So if you select the top half, you can position this manually. You can tell that I don't use this manual stuff very much. Usually what I do is put it in here just because it's easy. And I try to proceduralize this part. So this part, the actual grouping of the seams. So procedural, try to find the seams procedurally. Then feed it into the UV flatten and have it figure out where the islands are. That's as much as I've gotten with doing procedural UVs. It has gotten me very far though. I've created a lot of furniture, a lot of hard surface modeling is quite easy to do it because in seams you can do a lot of different find edges. Okay, so this sphere is quite hard to find a minimum. Let's find a maximum though. Okay, because the sphere, almost all the edges have very similar angles between each other. So this find min and max angle is not helping. Oh, this won't help either. But use edges, procedurally finding the seams, I find makes it much easier to generate HDAs or generators that will give me procedural UVs when I'm creating, because I want to create procedural assets that are completely procedural. I don't want to create a sofa and then, okay, I have a sofa generator. I actually do have a sofa generator, but I don't want to dig it up because it'll take me time to go through my huge hard drive. I have 6 hard drives. Each project takes terabytes. So you can you can create a sofa generator. That's great. It would suck if I have to take that sofa generator, then create the UVs, and then texturing it. Texturing I like because it's like a coloring book. But then, okay, I apply a texture, and then I find out, oh, I want the sofa. I want to modify the sofa because I have a procedural generator. I can easily modify it by making it the armrest a little longer or shorter or more seats. And then I find I have to update the UV seams or update the UVs all over again. And that would suck. So I wanted a whole workflow, a whole generator that would be complete, except for the texturing. I have thought about creating even the texture so you would actually get a very, very, very complete generator. Like it would generate the UVs for you. It would apply the texture as well. But I think I would need to learn more on Substance Designer because that would get me actual textures that I can actually apply to any model. Substance Painter will apply texturing to a specific model. If you apply it to another using that same texture and apply it to a different model, it might not look right. Sometimes it'll be okay if your UV layout is very similar. You may not see the things that you're trying to hide, the seams. Flaming Burrito. I remember having problems with the joint scale while importing animations from Maya into Unity. Characters would have giant heads for hands. Yeah, that happens to me a lot as well. But usually my character gets really, really tiny in Unreal Engine. So tiny I didn't even see it. John Paint. Yeah, I still use Maya for UV layout and editing. Yeah, I haven't used Maya, but I have heard that Maya is really, really good for that. But because Maya requires another subscription, so it does hit on expand on the budget on top of your Houdini. For those of you that don't have Maya and don't want to use this way of proceduraling, like this procedural seams way that I'm talking about, you can use Blender. And Blender has a lot of add-ons. There is this UV add-on that I've been planning to get, but because I'm so obsessed with procedural UVs, but it's really hard to create procedural UVs. Just so that, it gives you a headache. It gives me a headache, sorry. I believe it was this one. UV Packmaster. I believe this one. Or this one. One of these, I don't remember, has really, really awesome. The feature list looks cool. I don't have this yet. I was planning to get this one day because it can align to the top, like to the edges. You can align the UV islands and all, and that's a lot. Like this is very useful, and Blender is free. This add-on is not free, but it's, it'll be there forever. It'll be locked on. It will always be available to that particular Blender version. Usually a lot of the Blender add-ons, a lot of people, a lot of creators keep giving out updates like forever. But this one's labeled UV Master 3, so I'm guessing they have multiple versions. But $44 for unlimited use, no subscription, no nothing, no nothing. I think that's pretty darn good deal. Okay, so there's my 2 cents on UV unwrapping. Sorry, that was like really sidetracked. So Maya's really great for modeling. Houdini is too, like what I just kind of lightly touched on. Houdini has its models in a different way. It models in a non-destructive and procedural way, which is great for making generators, like what I like doing, like creating a sofa generator, furniture generator, and all that stuff. Like, so it pays out in the long run. However, you need to know Maya has been in the industry for decades. I think so. It should be at least 2 decades. So a lot of studios already have their pipelines adjusted to Maya, and they have invested a lot of time and effort to creating their specific plugins for their specific needs that has been working very efficiently in their studios and for their workflows. So if you are going into the industry, just keep that in mind. Houdini, you need to know Apex is awesome. I love Apex, but Apex has been introduced newly in Houdini 20. That means it's new. It's very, very new. KineFX has been in Houdini for a while, but it's still relatively new in comparison to Maya. I mean, Maya's been known famously for its character rigging and animation system for decades. Like they have dominated the industry for quite a while. So that's something you have to consider if you're going out into the real world. If you're just doing your own thing, then you can choose either way. It wouldn't make a difference for you. Oh, there is one more interesting thing about Houdini. Back in Houdini 19, I believe, I'm not sure, 19 or 18, when when Houdini made this update for RBD simulations. So RBD simulations, when you export it now, you can export it as a rig, which is really, really cool. Oh, I should really show you this. Oh, if I can find it though. I was experimenting with this and I exported an RBD rig into Unreal Engine. And on top of that, before importing into Unreal Engine, I modified the rig using the motion clip in Houdini. And I tried to because it's a rig. If it's a rig, the animations are riggable and you can manipulate the rigs as well using motion clips. I was wondering, can I export this animation back into Unreal? And you can. I just have to find it. I make a lot of stuff that never see the light of day. Oh, I wish I put a bookmark in my notes. Okay, let me see. I actually wrote a really crappy script to find projects in my hard drive. So I'm just going to launch that up. And let's see if that finds it. But it takes a long time to load. So let's just move on. Okay. Let me show you the car rig. Oh, let me check some of the comments. David, I mostly use the UV project node, but sometimes I have issues where the texture keeps moving in the space. UV project node, let me see. Oh, I think I know what it is that keeps moving it in space. UV project. So this UV project. Oh, let me open both. Okay. In here, there is an initialize. So this initialize, I find that this initialize thing is sometimes caching, and it is hard to update. Especially, so I stopped using this node because I usually try to play it. I usually be an idiot and I put this node inside an HDA. So I use it for a generator, and on top of that, I put it inside a for loop, which is not good. I found that because this node doesn't, this particular part, this initialized plane, it caches. So if I put it in a for loop, it caches to the very first loop and it doesn't always update. I even tried throwing using a Python script to literally click this button in every for loop, but that didn't work. I don't know where I went wrong, what went wrong, but that doesn't work. So I stopped using this node. It's good for the first, it will update the first time. So if you do not put it in a for loop, it should be fine. It'll update the first time. But if you're like jumping, if you're going like this to this, sometimes this doesn't update the greatest. Like, okay, that's not a good example. Okay, maybe let me zoom in. Okay. Okay, it looks like it's fine right now. It's usually when you put it in a for loop that it'll mess up really, at least in the second or third iteration. But when you, on the very first iteration, the first time you use it, so if you don't put it in the for loop, it should be fine. But yeah, I would avoid, it's caching something. Let me see if I can go in. Oh, I can't. Okay. This is great for when you have a polar, like this sphere. And then initialize. I believe this. Okay. Because this is something I can't create. Like this creates a perfect UV for a sphere. I mean, you can't get more beautiful than this for UV. This is not something I can create with even manually selecting these seams. Can you imagine manually selecting these seams? So that's what I would use. That's what I would prefer to use, UV project. I mean, there's many ways of using this, and I'm not a UV expert. I get pretty lazy with UVs. As long as it's not stretching, I'm fine. And then I try to compensate it, the stretching in Substance Painter. So I'm not too into UVs. As long as they exist on my model, I'm fine. I'm just trying to find that RBD rig. Really wanted to show you that. Oh, it's not here. Oh, is it this one? Oh, so many files. Oh, okay, this is the one. I think so. Ah. Oh, this is not it. Motion clip. Oh, this is one of them. This is me manipulating, but this is static RBD pieces. I had an actual RBD explosion of destruction scene, and I threw some motion clips on top of it to manipulate how it would explode. I just can't find it. Houdini. I think it's in here. Okay. Well, once I find it, I'll post it up. One last trial. Is it this folder? Okay, no, forget it. Okay, once I find it, I'll post it up. Or maybe I'll make that as the next live stream. Integrating stuff from Houdini into Unreal Engine. Well, let's see. Let's see the UV the comments. John Payne, Labs UV transfer has been a lifesaver for me. Yes, the UV transfer node. I don't use the Labs node actually that much. I should. This one. I usually drop down an attribute transfer and I just select the UVs. I wonder if they're the same. Oh, cute. ASR 59. Zen UV plus UV Packmaster for the win. Yeah, I think they're both really good. The feature list looks really awesome. John Lee. Yes, finally catch your stream. Welcome. I'm one of the weird people that likes UVing. You're not weird. I mean, UV is really, really, really good. It's just that after I spent like hours and hours creating the model, UVing is I get so tired. By then, I'm just so tired. It's just that UV is in the wrong step in the process. It's the last step. I like the coloring process, the texturing, substance designer part, or substance painter part. It took me a while to wrap my head around UV, but I liked it too once I figure it out, sorry. Yes, UVing. Once it's complete, I like it too. I like it even better when it's more proceduralized too, when it works in my HDA. It sucks when it breaks though. Here is my car. Let me just show you something else. So this procedural car is procedurally UV. And it has a procedural, it generates a procedural skeleton skin to the model. Well, skinning a car is really easy because there's no deformation. The car is hard surface. So it makes it a lot easy. Oh, quick tip. If you're skinning hard surface things that do not need to deform, meaning that it's not like human flesh, your fingers are actually bending and deforming the object in stuff like hard surface, like a car or stuff, you don't have that. Like in this case, these wheels are just turning. I had a sine wave here or somewhere. Anyways, they're just turning. Hopefully you can see that. So that is easy to skin because it's just binding the entire object onto one whole joint. So you can use the capture packed geo for that. Now you have to pack the geometry, each part of the geometry. So here I have the tires that are rotating. Each tire has to be a packed object. And then you can unpack it afterwards. Like there's a option in this node to unpack it afterwards. So it'll be like seamless to you. It will automatically pack it for you as well when you enable this. It should be enabled by default. And I'm telling it to pack by name because I have a different name for each tire. And I'm connecting the wheel to the wheel joint, which is named the exact same thing for simplicity's sake. Yeah, so this asset has procedural UVs. That's what I wanted to say. Let's go in. Yeah, it's huge. The body part. Okay, let's do this. Okay, 1 second. Allow editing. this is what it looks like inside. It started off with the most primitive shapes ever and turns into this guy. So I like to UV, start the UVs in the primitive shapes because it's easy to get these seams. This is much easier to procedurally generate the seams rather than getting it from this. This gets complicated when it's in this shape. The only issue is the UVs may not survive, like, because I created in here. It might not survive that whole journey all the way down. So it doesn't always work, but I try to make it work in the gas sets. I don't know if you guys want to see this. So already here, you start to see the shape. I don't know if you want me to step through this. Oh, let me show you something else first. Sorry, just getting more realistic. So you can adjust it, but you can see if you go too far, so it starts to break. Let me get rid of this, or let's see. Why can't I get rid of this? Oh, there it goes. Okay. So you can see it starts to break if you go too low. So I don't have, I really should. If I had more time, I would put more error checking. And that way I can lock this, clamp these values based, but it gets a little bit more complicated. It's not just locking down or clamping this, this value to some value. It also depends on the other values. If I, okay, let's leave it like this, but then what if we make it wider or longer? It also depends on other things, like, because they're all tied. So, okay, so this length, let's see. I'm trying to fix the length by adjusting other parameters. So that's not showing right now, but some of these parameters are coupled together, so they're linked. One might affect the other, so clamping or error checking these values takes a lot of time, takes a lot of testing. I mean, for something that you can eyeball and just go like this, I thought it wasn't worth the time. I mean, if it doesn't work, I'll just choose another parameter. However, you may want, there are cases that you may want to have this, like if you throw this into a wedge and you want to generate perfect car rigs every single, for every single iteration. Is it called iteration for wedges? For okay, I'm just for every variation for all your wedge results. Then yeah, or you can just feed it into a wedge, generate 1,000 of them, and then just manually vet out the wrong ones, which won't take much long. It's just click, 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 click. It depends. It depends what you want and how much time you have and you're willing to spend on it. Yeah, and this the rig is, well, this rig doesn't do much though, because it only turns the wheels. I can change the wheels. Wheel position. Size. Thickness. Okay, let's go down, give this a check, run it. Yeah, it still works. I can turn it too. can rotate it. I have to stop this though. No? Rotate wheel. I might have broke that. Oh, I remember. I think I had, because rotating the wheel in the generator didn't really make sense. So I removed this parameter, but I forgot to physically remove that parameter. It's not hooked to anything. I created a rig for that. So you can actually rotate the rig, because it didn't make sense to rotate it as a mesh. Where was that? Oh, it's rotating it somewhere around here. Oh, is it here? This one? Rotating front and what? Render. Yeah, it's this one. So it's part of the rig pose. Front and back. This is a. Ugh. This is an S parking. Parallel parking when you're going back and forth, back and forth. So there you go. I don't know if you want me to step through that. It gets pretty boring. Transfers, and let's see. It took me a while to figure. AS59. The difference between UV transfer and attribute transfer is that the first one transfer based on world space. Second one is in UV space. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you. Let's see. Sorry, I'm wrong. I was talking about UV attribute transfer. That is cool. I actually didn't know the difference between those two. I always thought it was doing the same thing. I'm not too big onto UV. Like I said, as long as they exist, like this. Actually, let's look at this UV. Look at this. This is not. This doesn't sit well with Substance Designer. It's not in its UV square. UV Substance Designer really hates it when you start putting UVs outside of this square. It will not let you import stuff. Sometimes it won't. If you only have a single material slot, it usually lets you, it lets you do whatever you want. But a lot of the times it won't like it, especially for UDIMs. UDIMs, you have to have every single UDIM with every single UDIM layout inside its UV square. Okay, let's see. I actually haven't even talked about this scene that I spent so long doing. Well, most of the time spent on this scene was learning Apex, posing this guy. Actually, let me show you the posing. Okay, I will be right back. I'm just gonna get a drink of water. Okay, here's the scene animate. So this is the base mesh before I replaced the head bust with my sculpted one. Now the scene animate node actually caches, so it will not. If I update this, if I reset this, I will lose all my changes and I have to repose him. That's one thing I didn't really like. I wish, because you have all this procedural setup, I don't know how much it would take to actually make it procedural, to actually switch the mesh and still keep the posing. If that were possible, that would be so amazing. Okay, so here is, actually, let me create a copy of it so I don't mess that one up. So this is where I was talking about with the sets. Now, if I want to select both, all the fingers there, I can just click this because I had created a set with all the fingers ahead of time. Now let me show it to you how you can create your own set. Let me show you what it can do first. So I can manipulate all the fingers. Now, if you just rotate, toggle selection. Oh, let's see. If I remember this correctly. Was it B? No. I'm trying to make it show up. I forgot Shift V. No, that's that one. G. Nope. I forgot the shortcut to make all the controls show up. I had hidden it because they were too large. Oh, right here. Right. So you can see why I was hiding it, because there's all these balls I can't see, all these spheres in the way. So here, these asterisks will hide the controls. So if I want to hide all the controls, you can click that. Now you have sets. Well, I have sets here. So I can enable the left set. So just click this little thing and it'll show only the controls for this. Now I actually don't want to see these spheres. So I'm going to disable that. And I'm going to enable only the IK controls because that's the only one I really need right now. So these arrows are my IK controls. These rubber toys are the pivot for the elbow. But first let's look at the fingers. So if I rotate this, which is not very handy. I mean, it's awesome that it's one click will select all the finger rigs, but I want to rotate and unfold all the fingers. You can actually control shift and it will rotate to the last using, it will rotate all of the selected controls using the pivot of your last selected position. So the thumb was the last selected one because the widget's right here. And I'm going to use... Okay, let me align it back first. Okay. And I'm going to use the camera angle. Okay, Control Shift. Ugh, that didn't work well. Okay. Let's add a locator. But before I want to show you the locator, I want to show you how you can rotate things differently. Okay, let's do the leg. Okay, so this leg. So this is an IK control. Now this is the pivot. So I'm going to move that a little higher. Okay. Okay. Now I want to rotate this around the other foot. So just go round circle like that. So what I click is this, click this, and then shift click this. Oh, this will rotate both of them though. So they're both selected. Now, if I rotate it like as is, they will rotate on their own axes, but I want to rotate them globally. So if you control shift and then click this, you can see, now this is awkward, but this left foot is rotating, both of them actually, they're both rotating, but the pivot is stuck on the last selected object. So you can see this foot rotates correctly because it's pivoting, it's using its own joint as the pivot, which is just rotating on its own axis. But the left foot gets really stretched out because it's using a pivot that's way out of its skeleton. Okay, so how do I actually rotate both of the feet with the same pivot, but not the joint? Let's say I wanted to create a different pivot, and that's where locators come in, and which is amazing because you can now create a pivot point anywhere on the grid. Press B, and you have to go into locator mode. Now, if you just click this, oh, sorry, hit H. Oh, because I'm hiding the controls, I can't see them. I think I just created it here. Oh, I forgot how to. Control G. Shift G. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I create a new locator. Sorry. Oh, look at all the locators I created. Let me delete them. Delete set. Delete. Huh. Okay, I don't know why it's not working. Usually you just select it and press delete, it will just delete. Okay. Let me create another animate. I'm not sure what went wrong over there. Okay, let me try that again. Let's go into locate, press B to get your little wheel. Go into locator mode because we have been working in the animate mode. So let's go to locator, and I want to create a locator right here. H. Oh, come on. Control G. Okay, let me try that again. Oh, there it is. I don't know why you have to exit and then come back in to make the viewport update. Let me switch it over here. I have two of them because I clicked twice. But okay, let's work with this locator. Now let's go to B and go back to animate. Click both of these IK controls And then now I want to rotate around this locator. So I had that clicked. Click this because the last selected one will be the one that you becomes your pivot. And now Control Shift, and you can rotate around this pivot, which is amazing. To have these custom pivots, it really makes a difference when you're posing. And these locators can be even more advanced. I've seen demos from SideFX's webinars where you can actually parent the locators and to create a whole chain dynamically. So these, and then constrain the controls to the locators. And this is all done dynamically in this scene animate node. So you can actually create chains, pose it, destroy the chains, throw them out, and then if the delete works. So let's say we want to keyframe this for some strange reason. I want to K, I believe it was. Animate all controls. K. Okay, so I just created a keyframe, and then I'm going to take this and this and this, and then rotate it, and then keyframe it again. K. Okay, and then I'm gonna show you. So if you come here, if you right click, hover your mouse over the timeline. So down here, right click it. Remember to hover in the middle of the timeline, like in the middle of where the line is, sort of. Aim for that. Right click, show animation toolbar, and you can actually blend to, there's different types of tweening, which is really, really powerful. So let's blend to neighbor. So I have two keyframes here. I have one where it looks like this, and then he's doing a dance or whatever. The next one. So I'm going to go in the middle, and I'm going to blend this to neighbor, which is the neighboring keyframe. Okay. And it automatically keyframes it for you. So let's see what this looks like. So he spins a lot faster and slows down because I have a keyframe here which says blend to neighbor. Now let me remove this. Delete key. Or where's this? Delete key. Okay. Goes back. So he is now a little slower. So that's how you can use these controls if you want them to go really, really fast. If you want the middle here, between the keyframes to have it blend more without like tweaking, manually doing it yourself. That's how you can use some of these tweenings. Let's see. David, Apex feels like it has a mountain of things to learn. Yeah, that is true. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It does, and I'm still learning it. It really, really does. But the potential is so out there. It is there. I mean, go play around with that chicken rig, and you'll get inspired. Just how I got inspired. I was like that. I was like how what you're saying right now. I was like that too. But then I saw that chicken rig. I was like, I want to create rigs like that. What else can I show you? Let me take a look at my notes. Oh, plant rig. Oh, so this, I just found the picture for the plant rig. So I created this weird plant. I can actually bring up the... So this is a plant rig where I created in Houdini, exported out, and popped it into Unreal Engine. So it does work. And to make it, because I didn't know how to export the actual Apex rig controls into Unreal Engine, I actually gave the rig controls in Unreal Engine a try. But I have to close a lot of apps before opening that up. Otherwise, nothing will work on my computer. But this is what it looks like in Houdini. So this doesn't have Apex. This just has the KineFX skinning and rig. Let's see. Twist controls. Okay. Oh, it's animated. Whee! And there's twisting involved, if you ever want to dance around with that. Now, this is one thing how you export into Unreal Engine. Okay, let me start closing apps, and then I'll open Unreal Engine. I'll give you a quick demo of what I did in Unreal Engine control rig, because that is really interesting too. Real time is always interesting. Oops. I just gotta close a lot of stuff though. I have to close this scene, especially this gorilla and chicken scene. It's really large. Discard. This one. Okay. Then I will open up Epic Games and ramble on while it loads. This is what I was talking about. I had to overwrite the scale inheritance to 0 for like this last input is the animated pose, which doesn't really have anything. It's not. I don't think so. Oh, it's animating the open part. But I created rig controls in Unreal Engine, so I didn't really need this animation. Okay. Let's see. So you just overwrite it going into the skeleton. So in this mesh, there's nothing. You just need a name for it though, for the mesh. This is with the bone capture. So this is the skinned mesh. Let's see here, and then this is the skeleton here. So this is overwriting the scale inheritance. You can see how I'm trying to export these controls into Unreal Engine, but it doesn't work. I remember that plant. Oh yeah, I posted this on Discord because I thought it was really cool. All the integration stuff that I managed to get working in Unreal Engine, I usually post on Discord. It's like my proudest moments. No. Test level, I think it's this one. I hope it's this one. These levels take so long. This is the test level from that procedural nature walk. I forgot what it's called. This is one of their demo projects on Epic Games for the PCG, their procedural generation for an thing. Okay, that was not it. Levels startup. Where did I put it? Test. Okay, this is not it. It's one of them I had placed in here. I actually don't need to show you the environment. I just need to show you the rig. What am I doing? Stop. Okay. It would be really neat if we can use the Houdini engine and export the Apex proxy controls into Unreal Engine. But Unreal Engine 5.4 in the that was recently released, they have introduced modular control rigs, which is very exciting. I haven't had a chance to play around with it yet, but that is another simplicity on top of everything. Oh wow, what have I done? Oh no. It won't stop. Okay, I'll just hide that in the background. Let's see what else I can show you. So I really did want to show you the control rig in Unreal Engine. Oh, right. My progression with the chicken versus gorilla scene and the bananas. I created a progression bar. So I had so many screenshots throughout throughout the days of creating that scene that I created a progression bar. I kept track of everything. So this is where it's all started. I mean, look at this. How far I've come. There's so many screenshots I had to separate it into 3 pictures. This is where we are. No, not this one. This one. Which still needs a lot of love, but let me see if I can put them side by side. I was experimenting with some tune. This picture is rendered in Blender. So I couldn't figure out how to render fur in Blender from Houdini fur in Blender. So I had to make them into geometry, but then it looks like it's, I don't know, he's wearing a spaghetti suit or something. But the chicken looks amazing in Blender. Okay, this is Houdini. This is Karma. So if you see fur like this is Karma. Okay, this is where I started off with. Look how far I've come. Look at this guy. Look at this. This is my first attempt with fur. Well, not first attempt. I had played around with it before, just not too much. This is me sculpting it. Keep in mind, this is what it looks like at the end. Like, this is what is this dated to? May 2nd. This is 19th. There's the fangs. It's like a Brussels sprout monster. It does. It's like he's carrying a bunch of broccoli around him with leaves and oh, I don't know. It looks like a porcupine. So I haven't figured out how to do fur in Blender. I might have to use Blender's actual hair system. So Blender has its own hair simulation system, which looks amazing. I have to figure that out, I think, in order to render this in Blender. But this one is rendered in Karma. This is April 20th. So this, improving. This looks like he's wearing a mask. 21st. So, and then I added, for some reason, I was confident enough that this was going to work, and I added fangs and teeth. Later on, I created a procedural generator for the teeth because I got sick and tired of recreating the teeth over and over and over again every single time I change the face, because every sculpt of the face changes the position of his mouth. Okay, the second board. For some strange reason, I got sick and tired of the gorilla, so I made a chicken rig. This chicken rig I'm going to give it a bit more love, a little more sculpting, and then rig him up, and then it will replace the chicken in the project file of the previously released one that I did for the perk members. So that one is still relying that you go and download the actual chicken rig from SideFX's content library. This one, I will replace it with this one, just because that chicken rig from the content library is like 2 gigs. So not everyone wants to download 2 gigs. I certainly didn't want to, but I fell in love with this chicken. It was worth the 2 gigs in the end. Yeah, still going on to the chicken. So I gave it a bit more color. And I don't know if you can see this kind of like, I gave it more beveling around or pinching in ZBrush with the eyes. But it's so, because this one's so dark you can't even see. Oh, and then I recreated that the facial sculpt for the gorilla all over again. So this is a complete redo. Which started to turn out nice after I stuck them in the scene to do a test render. And I started on the banana just a couple days ago, actually. The banana rig wasn't hard. It got the texturing is just a very, very simple banana texture that I threw on in Substance Painter. So this only took about a day. And this is a crowd simulation. So all instancing of this is a crowd simulation, which takes a lot of memory. Just because after the crowd simulation is done, the only way I know how to render it out is to convert it into actual geometry. I don't know if there's a crowd procedurals. So in Karma, when you have a lot of instances like hair, and you're trying to render hair or feathers, or I think they even have flip fluid procedurals. There's something new in Karma that SideFX introduced. It's called procedurals, which makes it a lot faster to render stuff, this type of instancing in Karma. Here I'm doing a test pose. So I'm posing it with the original base mesh. This base mesh is just low poly, so it makes it a lot easier to handle inside Apex. So I would love if I could just replace the mesh in Apex, just switch it and keep this pose and just replace it with this guy. This guy is actually a reposed version. Or is it? Actually, I don't remember. I might have just exported this out and just removed the head. Since the fur covers all the low poly parts of his body, I probably, I can't even remember what I did. I think I just blasted his head and just replaced it with my sculpt. I believe that's what I did. Because this pose looks really much the same. I think I ran out of time and I was like, otherwise I would have reposed him. Yeah, I think so. Because this is the original one with the faceless head. This is a redo of the sculpt, which is a lot better. If you compare even this remake, this is a little bit better. I redid these wrinkles are not done in ZBrush. They're all done in Substance Painter. So that is something I thought was really, really nice, because then it's quite non-destructive. I can just disable the wrinkles in Substance Painter if I don't like it, and I can redo it. Just add another layer and just paint it and paint the wrinkles back in. In ZBrush, I think it's still pretty easy to redo it. you can always, because they have an awesome undo redo history, you can always go revert back to that point and just resculpt it for those detail layers, or create a layer in ZBrush. But doing the actual wrinkles in Painter, I find very efficient. This background is an image plane that I rendered from Blender, actually, and I just stuck it in Karma as an image plane. Let me see if I can. The lighting in Blender is a lot more awesome. I find it a lot more awesome. Flame Burrito, it's come a long way. It was a fuzz monster beginning. I know, it has come a long way. Oh, this little corner picture is one that was color graded heavily. This one is the raw version from Karma. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Oh, I disabled it. Okay. Look at this. The spaghetti. He looks like a mess. Let me turn it off. Okay. Yeah, so this is without the fur, because I don't know how to transfer the fur over. I probably have to recreate it in Blender. Yeah, the lighting system in Blender is a lot easier to use, or maybe I'm used to it, because I used to use Blender Cycle as my main rendering engine. It's free, so, and it has an amazing quality. And you can always buy all these shaders out for very affordable. And then you can just stick them in. Let's see. So this is a shader of physical sky atmosphere, I believe it was. It's a plugin I bought on Blender Market. And it changes the environment lighting. And I love this so much, because it makes it so easy to change the environment lighting. The teeth really made a difference. Without the teeth, let me see. Ooh, he doesn't look as angry. He looks like Kirby. So, okay. Okay, I'm gonna see if the Unreal Engine, if I can find my plant rig, and that will be the last thing I wanted to show you. Where's my control rig? Static mesh. Oh. Control rig. Where are you? I believe it's control rig, this one. So John says, I did a Karma versus Arnold side by side with render time on LinkedIn if anyone is interested. Cool. Just, you can post it in the channel. But I think YouTube blocks URLs. So you need to find a way around it. but I don't mind. You can paste the URL in the chat. So this is a control rig for the plant that I created in Unreal Engine to give it a shot to see how this guy works. Let's see if it still works. Okay, there's the twist. Oh man, I can't even. Okay, never mind. Okay, there it goes. There you go. So what this is doing, it has control rigs on each pedal. And then there's a main control that controls all the other controls. So I can make it move. I can open all the pedals all at once. But each individual pedal here has its own rig control. I can't override it anymore because this main control is overriding all the other controls. And I'm probably not doing this correctly. I don't have this set up correctly. It was my first rig control in Unreal Engine. So so rig controls are really hard to set up. Just to give you a perspective, Apex is not too bad. I mean, if you compare this to what Apex does, this isn't too bad. I mean, Apex isn't too bad. Keep in mind, Apex is procedurally creating all these. But in the new Unreal, this is Unreal Engine 5.3. So in the new Unreal Engine 5.4, they're actually introducing modular control rigs. So that changes the game to another level. I'll have to try that out to say anything about it. Only that it has a lot of potential. Flaming burrito. He's gonna inhale the chicken like Kirby. Yeah. John, pixel peeping, Houdini's new karma renderer. Cool. I think that's the title of your tutorial. So if anyone's interested, you can just look that up. I'm sure you'll hit it. All right, that's all I had planned. Wow, this was another long stream. So I hopefully everyone enjoyed this session. Let me know what the next week. I really want to get more into Apex animation. I want to get more used to those controls, using them, animating, hopefully completing that scene with the chicken and gorilla, making, like, rather than just posing it, hopefully animating it and have it do something funny. Probably won't be a fight scene. Even if it was, it'd probably be a silly fight scene. Yeah, that's my plan. And tell me what you think about Substance Painter. I'm really getting to like Substance Painter and sculpting in ZBrush. Sculpting in ZBrush is so relaxing. I should have created a ZBrush channel. It's so relaxing. So that's something I really want to get into. Especially with Houdini's newer character animation tools, it's so easy to rig them, skin them, and now animate them. I can make custom characters and just have them come alive digitally. Awesome. Thank you, Flaming Burrito. You're always here. You're always here for me. Thank you. I really appreciate that. All right. So yeah, just let me know what you think about everything. And leave a comment or just shoot me up in Discord. Anything's fine. All right. I'll just end it here. And hope to see you guys next time.